Absolutely. I was watching a show about Russia last night where the serf system was literally created by imperial decree to counter the fact that peasants were starting to leave the lands held by the nobles and go to cities, try and find jobs, and try and improve their life. How dare the serfs improve their lives? We're going to lock them on the land. They become the property of the nobility, and that created the serf system in Russia, which, of course, ultimately led to the communist revolution.
And by the way, and the bankers knew the serfs were going to rebel, so they created a false valve. That's all been declassified and admitted as well, that Bank of England, J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, same companies all funded the Bolsheviks. It was just a takeover from one group of thugs to another. The British cousins knocked off their cousins. When you read the Club of Rome, David Rockefeller, their own books, like the memoir he wrote in 2004, they admit they want, in their own words, a neo-feudal serf system. That's what they want. And they're going to license how many kids we have. And I mean, these people are sick. And until people start saying no, it's only going to get worse.
Well, the problem with people who feel that there should be leaders in the world is they often see themselves as the leaders. And inevitably, they think they should be in charge of absolutely everything because they know better. People who aspire to high positions of power will justify their criminal actions and their abuse of people by saying it serves a higher and nobler purpose, which is embodied through them, that ultimately they are the hope for a better world of tomorrow. I mean, even Adolf Hitler thought that. So did Stalin. So did Alexander the Great. Obviously, they were wrong, but you can't convince them of that with facts, logic, and law. It has to finally be settled with a crash of whatever the ruling body is. And then they say, well, maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. The problem is those self-elected rulers of the world, every time there's a new revolution and a new change in history, they say, okay, we won't make that mistake again. So they're always learning. I mean, for 2,000 years, they have been developing the skills and means to control the population. The arrival of the internet completely derailed all of that. That's why you've got Jay Rockefeller out there saying he wished it had never been invented, because they had gotten used to being able to use the corporate media to lie us into whatever direction they wanted to go. We need to invade Iraq, we'll tell them about weapons of mass destruction. We need to invade these people, we'll tell them about biological weapons. We need to invade these people over here, we'll do a concocted story about stolen incubators and dead premature babies. They were used to doing that because during the 1950s and 60s it worked. We believed everything the corporate media and government told us about those gosh darn commies, and we fell for it, and we paid trillions of dollars for the world's largest nuclear arsenal, for the only country on earth to actually use nuclear weapons on another country, the United States of America.
And meanwhile, it turned out that the whole time the big industries here were supplying the Russians with everything. The whole Lend-Lease program, the whole weaponized program, it never ended. The Ford and Chevy trucks were being shipped over to then be shipped to Vietnam to fight because the globalists made money on both ends. And the sooner we realize that paradigm, the better it'll be for all of us. I want to go to some calls because I want to spend some time getting into the whole 9/11 hit piece last night, because I take it, Mike, you saw the whole thing?
I saw part of it. I kind of got sick of it partway through and changed channels.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. I mean, I literally saw him shoot a missile into a chicken coop. I mean, it was a fiberglass chicken coop that thick, and they put then they put a pound of plastic explosive in the chicken coop and blow it up and say, "See, a missile would have blown the whole Pentagon up." I mean, regardless of what you think about the Pentagon, I mean, this debunking is now. I mean, I've seen thermite reactions on TV where a cup of real thermite eats straight through a big block engine. They supposedly put hundreds of pounds of thermite around a column, set it on fire, and nothing happens. Total crap. I mean, just, in fact, we can make the video. I just don't have the time. I'm busy doing all this other stuff. But it's all over. In fact, Google thermite reaction on YouTube. Just search engine the term thermite on engine. A small cup of it on an engine eats through the whole engine in seconds. But then you look at this show, they dump giant amount, but they admit it's thermite they made. So they made some fake thermite. I mean, these shows are just, they're blowing up chicken coops now, Mike?
Well, one of the ones that I did see is they went in and they did a controlled demolition on a building, and then they walked back through and they said, see, if there had been a controlled demolition, we would see all this pieces of det cord all over the place. And that's utter nonsense, because det cord, when it fires off, it completely consumes itself. And there's these scraps of unused det cord in the ruins of this building, and they're saying, see, this proves there couldn't have been a controlled demolition. It was an expression of panic. It was an expression of panic. I don't think it convinced anybody. In fact, they were so obvious and heavy-handed about the cover-up. I think, if anything, it's probably convinced a lot more people that something is.
Mike, don't tell them. Mike, we want them to continue the hit pieces. Please don't let them in on the secret that this is only helping us wake everybody up. I know. I was watching it, and I was like, is this a joke? And that woman's voice, and she would go, the truthers. Literally, the truthers, yes. Like the aliens. The demons, the vampires. It was really a pathetic show.
It was. It was.
And I know it's all about presentation. They would have the names of the good guys that believe the government real small, concise, exact. And then with Truther, it'd all be crooked and off the side and messed up, knowing that if names are messed up, that makes people not like it. I mean, just basic tricks they used.
The language of film.
Yeah, I mean, they take film students that couldn't get a job, and I guess these guys want to make a couple $100,000 a year, so they would sell their mother out for it. I mean, that JFK thing they did where it shows the green jelly and shooting the head, and it's from totally different spots than where the shooters were at, and it's totally fake. I mean, listen, though, Mike, I've never seen a hit piece this flimsy. I almost thought like they were secretly on our side and trying to screw themselves up. Just lost Rivero with our connection to Hawaii. Well, let's start going to calls while we're getting Mike back on with us. Dwayne in California. Dwayne, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex. Good to talk to you again. I didn't realize, I didn't see that hit piece last night, but I've done a lot of research on the 9/11 project and information on concentration and FEMA camps, even prior to the 2000 election with George W. Bush. And so I had a lot of information I was researching at that time. Got a lot of it off of your website, in fact. One thing I didn't mention last time I called about when you're talking about the swine flu vaccinations, that when I took that vaccination in 1976, I was a linguist with the U.S. Army. I was part of the Army Security Agency, which I later found out was a division of the National Security Agency. So that was kind of an eye-opener. And in addition, I have seen a lot of things on your website and other places that have opened my eyes to so much that the government is trying to blind us to, or make us believers of, that it's all a false paradigm. So, I was listening to Mike Rivero, and I agree with a lot that he said. Stephen Jones, in particular, I was watching some of his information, from your website about the 9/11 attacks and how the thermite reaction brought down the Twin Towers. Because I never believed that it could fall straight down like that unless there was some sort of thermite reaction.
Well, I mean, here's an example. Here's the Progressive. The AP also reported it. The Pentagon wants authority to post almost 400,000 military personnel in the U.S. for emergencies and homeland security. The DHS own internal reports that we released say that their main battle force is designed and is set up to engage the American people in combat operations and for civil unrest, and then they try to run around and deny that this even exists or is real. Let's bring Mike Rivero back up, who's with us. Mike, I mean, how long is this going to work? It's kind of like all these big Soros, Rockefeller Foundation groups, Media Matters and others are saying, I'm a liar. There's no plan for national compulsory service, when he's given speeches, the president, his chief of staff, and they've introduced the bills. I mean, how long can they just bald-faced lie and get away with it, Mike?
Well, that's a two-part question. They're going to go online because they don't know other way to operate right now. They've been doing it for so long. How long can they get away with it? I don't think they're getting away with it right now. I mean, that's certainly the sense I get from the people who write into my website, who listen to your show. I think most Americans do know they're being lied to on a pretty much continuing basis. I think most Americans have come to understand we're the most lied to people on the face of the earth. I think the reason the government is in panic mode is they understand the lies don't work anymore, but they don't know what to do. They can't start telling the truth. They've told way too many lies.
Yeah, stay there.
The lies.
Stay there.